Okay, so, picture this. Sun's blazing, waters that unreal turquoise, and this massive cruise ship is gliding through the Bahamas like it owns the ocean. On board, James, this mega-rich CEO, and his brand new wife, Isabel. They're on their honeymoon, right? Living the dream. Private cabanas, gourmet food, the whole 9 yards. Instagram is blowing up with their perfect life. Except, it's all fake. Or at least it's hiding something seriously messed up. Because just a few days into this paradise cruise, James and Isabel vanish. Poof, gone. Like they never even existed. 1 minute they're sipping cocktails by the pool, the next, nothing. Their cabin's empty, their stuff's still there, but they're just gone. And that's when the whispers start. See, Isabel has a past. A messy one. She used to date this other guy, Mark. And, rumor has it, she basically cleaned him out before ditching him for the CEO. Ouch, right? But it gets worse. Mark and Isabel were actually planning their dream honeymoon. You guessed it, a Bahamas cruise. The same cruise. So, James and Isabel are now living Mark's dream, only without Mark. Or so they thought. Because guess who suddenly pops up on the cruise ship? Mark. Working in the kitchen. Wearing a disguise. Talk about awkward. So what do you think? Did he have anything to do with their disappearance? Was it revenge? A jealous ex? Or is there something else going on? Something even crazier? Because trust me, this story takes some wild turns. Stick around because you won't believe what really happened on that honeymoon from hell. Let's dive deeper into these characters, because they're not just cardboard cutouts. They're the driving force behind this whole twisted story. James, our CEO, is the classic alpha male. Think Gordon Gekko meets a tech bro. He's built his empire from the ground up, or so he claims, and he's used to calling the shots. He's got that air of confidence, bordering on arrogance, that comes with having a ton of money and power. He probably has a corner office with a killer view, a wardrobe that costs more than most people's rent, and a string of exes who all say he's charming but ruthless. He's used to getting what he wants, no matter the cost. And what he wanted was Isabel. Now, Isabel, she's a different breed altogether. She's beautiful, yes, but it's more than that. She's got this magnetism, this way of making you feel like you're the most important person in the room, even when she's clearly calculating her next move. She's smart too. Street smart, maybe, but smart nonetheless. She knows how to play the game, how to get what she wants. And what she wanted, for a while at least, was Mark. Mark, poor Mark. He's the everyman, the nice guy who finishes last. He's a hard worker, probably has a decent job, but nothing flashy. He fell hard for Isabel. He thought she loved him, thought they had a future together. He was willing to do anything for her, to give her everything she wanted. And Isabel, well, she took it. Designer handbags, expensive vacations, a lifestyle Mark could barely afford. She enjoyed it all, courtesy of his hard-earned cash. He was so blinded by love that he didn't see what was happening. He thought he was building a life with her, but she was just using him as a stepping stone. Then James came along, and suddenly Mark wasn't good enough anymore. James offered Isabel a whole new level of luxury, a life she could only dream of, and she didn't hesitate. She dumped Mark, allegedly leaving him in financial ruin, and moved on to James without a second thought. It was cold, calculated, and utterly ruthless. But that's Isabel. She's a survivor, a climber, and she'll do whatever it takes to reach the top. And James? He knew about Mark. He knew about the whispers, the rumors, but he didn't care. He was so infatuated, so caught up in the idea of having Isabel on his arm, that he ignored all the warning signs. He thought he was above it all, that he was immune to her manipulations. He was wrong, so very wrong. And now, as they sail off into the sunset on their dream honeymoon, the stage is set for disaster. Because Mark is on that ship too, and he's not there to congratulate them. Okay, so, remember how I said Mark was heartbroken? Yeah, heartbroken doesn't even begin to cover it. He was furious, betrayed, humiliated, and broke. He'd poured his heart and soul, not to mention his savings, into Isabel, and she just tossed him aside like yesterday's trash. He wasn't going to let her get away with it. So, He did what any rational, heartbroken, financially ruined guy would do. He confronted them. He marched right up to James and Isabel at a cocktail party and let them have it. He called Isabel out on her lies, her manipulation, her gold-digging ways. He demanded she return the expensive gifts he'd showered her with, the things she'd taken from his apartment, and the money she'd borrowed and never repaid. It was a scene. People whispering, staring, filming it on their phones. James, of course, was not happy. He was used to being in control, and here was this nobody, this ex-boyfriend, making a scene and accusing his future wife of being a, well, you know. He tried to shut Mark down, to dismiss him, but Mark wasn't having it. He was fueled by anger and a desperate need for justice. Things escalated. Voices were raised. Accusations were thrown. And then James's bodyguard stepped in. Big guy, ex-military, the type you don't want to mess with. He escorted Mark off the premises, but not before a scuffle broke out. The next thing Mark knew, he was being arrested. Apparently, the bodyguard had pressed charges, claiming Mark had assaulted him. It was bogus, of course, but James had money and influence, and Mark had nothing. He spent the next 6 months in jail, stewing in his anger and resentment. 6 months, while Isabel was off marrying the CEO and living the high life. By the time Mark got out, the wedding had already happened. Isabel was officially Mrs. James, and they were off on their honeymoon. A honeymoon to the Bahamas, the exact same cruise Mark had planned with Isabel. Talk about adding insult to injury. Mark felt robbed. Robbed of his love, his money, his future. And he knew he had to do something. He couldn't just let them get away with it. He had to get even. But how? Mark sits in his cramped apartment, the walls closing in on him. He's a free man, but freedom feels like a cage. He's lost everything, his love, his money, his dignity. All because of Isabel and her insatiable greed. He stares at his phone, scrolling through Isabel's social media. Her life is a constant parade of luxury. Designer clothes, exotic vacations, Michelin star restaurants. It's a slap in the face, a constant reminder of what he's lost. And then he sees it, a post about their honeymoon, a cruise to the Bahamas. His cruise, the one they'd planned together, the one he'd poured his heart and soul into. Now, she's living that dream with another man, flaunting it in his face. A surge of rage courses through him. He can't let them get away with this. He has to do something, anything, to make them pay. An idea takes root, a desperate, dangerous idea. He's going to join them on that cruise. He's going to confront them, expose their lies, make them suffer as he has suffered. But how? He has no money, no connections, no way to get on that ship. He looks around his bare apartment, his eyes landing on a small box hidden under his bed. His emergency fund, the last of his savings. It's not much, but it's enough. Enough for a fake ID, a forged resume, a one-way ticket to the Bahamas. He withdraws every last penny, his hands trembling with a mix of fear and determination. He knows this is a long shot, a desperate gamble. But he has nothing left to lose. He spends the next few days meticulously crafting his plan. He researches the cruise line, the ship's layout, the cruise schedules. He creates a new identity, a new life for himself. He becomes a chef, a skilled culinary artist with a passion for creating exquisite dishes. It's a lie, of course, but a convincing one. And then, the day arrives. He boards the ship, his heart pounding in his chest. He's surrounded by luxury, by laughter and carefree joy, but he sees none of it. His eyes are fixed on one goal, revenge. He moves through the ship like a ghost, observing, planning, waiting for the right moment. He spends his days toiling in the hot, cramped kitchen, his nights pacing the deck, his mind consumed by dark thoughts. He sees them, of course. James and Isabel, the happy couple, oblivious to the danger lurking in their midst. He watches them dine in elegant restaurants, dance under the stars, their laughter echoing through the ship. Each sight fuels his anger, his resentment, his burning desire for revenge. He knows he can't confront them directly. They have money, power, protection. He has nothing but his wits and his desperation. He needs a different plan, a more subtle approach. And then, it hits him. He's a chef. He has access to food, to ingredients, to opportunities. A sinister smile creeps across his face. He knows exactly what he's going to do. Mark, cloaked in his chef's uniform, becomes a shadow amongst the vibrant tapestry of the cruise ship. He observes James and Isabel, not with the casual glance of a passerby, but with the focused intensity of a predator stalking its prey. He studies their movements, their habits, the subtle nuances of their interactions. He learns their schedules, their favorite spots on the deck, the times when they are most vulnerable. He knows he cannot risk a direct confrontation, not yet. He must be patient, calculating, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. An idea begins to take shape in his mind, a plan as cunning as it is chilling. He will exploit his position as a chef, a purveyor of culinary delights, to mask his true intentions. He will craft a special meal, a seemingly innocent gesture of goodwill, a honeymoon gift from the culinary team to the ship's most esteemed guests. But this gift will be a Trojan horse, bearing a deadly secret within its exquisite presentation. He discreetly seeks out a waiter, someone eager to earn an extra tip, someone who wouldn't ask too many questions. He instructs the waiter to deliver a message to James and Isabel, a complimentary gourmet meal prepared especially for them, a token of celebration for their honeymoon. The waiter, blinded by the promise of a generous reward, readily agrees, unaware of the sinister plot he is unwittingly becoming a part of. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ship's deck, Mark retreats to the sanctuary of the kitchen. He works late into the night, his movements precise and deliberate, his mind a whirlwind of dark thoughts and meticulous calculations. He selects the finest ingredients, the freshest produce, the most exotic spices, carefully masking the bitter tang of the poison with a symphony of flavors. He plates the food with an artist's touch, each dish a macabre masterpiece, a testament to his twisted culinary skills. He carefully packs the meal into an innocuous container, ready for delivery, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The waiter, his face a mask of practiced charm, arrives at the couple's luxurious suite. He presents the gift with a flourish, his words dripping with honeyed compliments and well wishes. James and Isabel, their hearts warmed by this unexpected gesture, accept the meal with smiles of gratitude. They dismiss the waiter, eager to savor this private indulgence, this intimate celebration of their love. They have no idea that death has been delivered to their doorstep. Alone in the opulent confines of their suite, they unpack the meal, the air thick with the seductive aroma of exotic spices and rich sauces. They raise their glasses in a toast, their eyes locked in a gaze of love and anticipation, unaware that this is their last supper, their final act together. They partake in the meal, each bite a betrayal, each swallow a step closer to oblivion. Mark, concealed in the shadows, watches as the poison takes its insidious hold. He sees their smiles falter, their laughter die in their throats, their movements become sluggish and uncoordinated. He waits, patiently, mercilessly, until their bodies succumb to the deadly concoction, their eyes devoid of life, their limbs still and lifeless. With the chilling detachment of a surgeon, he enters their suite. He packs their bodies into large suitcases, methodically erasing any trace of his presence. His actions swift and efficient, born of a cold, calculated determination. He wheels the suitcases out of the suite, blending into the hushed stillness of the ship, his movements ghost-like and unseen. He makes his way to the deck, the weight of his deeds pressing down on him, yet his resolve unwavering. Under the cloak of darkness, with only the stars as his witness, he heaves the suitcases over the railing, watching as they disappear into the inky depths below. He listens to the splash, the muffled thud as they hit the water, the slow, gurgling descent into the abyss. He feels no remorse, no pity, only a hollow sense of finality. He has had his revenge, a dish served cold, a life for a life. He has erased them just as they erased him. The morning sun paints the ocean in hues of gold and rose, but a shadow falls upon the luxurious cruise ship. James and Isabel, the celebrated couple, are nowhere to be found. Their suite is empty, the bed undisturbed, their belongings untouched. A chill of unease creeps through the ship as the news spreads like wildfire. Whispers turn to murmurs, then to frantic calls and urgent announcements. A search party is hastily assembled, scouring every nook and cranny of the vessel. They check the bars, the restaurants, the pools, the casino, even the lifeboats. Nothing. James and Isabel have vanished without a trace. The captain, his face etched with concern, makes a ship-wide announcement, his voice betraying a hint of panic. He assures the passengers that everything is being done to locate the missing couple, but his words do little to quell the growing sense of dread. The once festive atmosphere on the ship evaporates, replaced by an unsettling tension. The ship's security team springs into action, reviewing hours of surveillance footage. They scrutinize every hallway, every elevator, every public space, searching for any clue, any sign of the missing couple. The images are grainy, the lighting poor, the crowds dense. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack. They see James and Isabel entering their suite the previous evening, but there's no footage of them leaving. They see the waiter delivering the meal, but no one else entering or exiting the suite. The footage is frustratingly inconclusive. Mark, meanwhile, continues his duties in the kitchen, his face a mask of impassivity. He blends in with the other staff, his movements unremarkable, his presence unnoticed. He's a ghost in the machine, a shadow flitting through the corridors of the ship. The investigation intensifies, but the mystery deepens. The passengers, once carefree and jubilant, are now gripped by fear and uncertainty. The honeymoon cruise, once a symbol of love and celebration, has become a floating prison of suspicion and paranoia. As the hours pass with no progress in the investigation, a sense of panic starts to grip the passengers. Rumors swirl, suspicions abound, and the once jovial atmosphere is replaced by fear and distrust. The cruise, meant to be a joyous escape, has become a nightmare. Recognizing the deteriorating situation and the potential danger it poses, the captain makes the difficult decision to cut the cruise short. The ship changes course, heading back to port with a heavy sense of dread hanging over it. The honeymoon cruise, once a symbol of love and celebration, ends abruptly, marked by tragedy and unanswered questions. Mark, the orchestrator of this chilling disappearance, observes the unfolding chaos with a cold detachment. He has played his part flawlessly, his plan executed with ruthless efficiency. He has committed the perfect crime, leaving no trace, no witnesses, no evidence. He is a phantom, a ghost, a whisper in the wind. He has vanished along with his victims, leaving behind only a chilling mystery and a haunting sense of unease. The ship limps back to port, its festive banners and streamers now mocking reminders of the tragedy that unfolded on board. The passengers disembark, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and lingering fear. This isn't the end of their journey, however. The disappearance of James and Isabel is now a police matter, and the luxury liner becomes a crime scene. Detectives swarm the ship, their eyes scanning every corner, their hands dusting for fingerprints. They interview the passengers, the crew, anyone who might have seen or heard something relevant to the case. The investigation is thorough, relentless, leaving no stone unturned. The security footage, once deemed inconclusive, is now subjected to rigorous scrutiny. Tech specialists enhance the images, sharpen the resolution, analyze every frame. What was once blurry and indistinct now reveals chilling details. They focus on the footage of the waiter entering and exiting the couple's suite. They notice something odd, something out of place. The waiter enters the suite empty-handed, but when he leaves, he's struggling to maneuver two large, heavy suitcases. The suitcases weren't there before. Where did they come from? What's inside them? The investigators' suspicions turn towards the waiter. They review his employee records, his background check, his every move on the ship. But everything seems to be in order. He has a clean record, a solid alibi, no apparent motive. Then a breakthrough. A sharp-eyed detective, reviewing the footage for the 100th time, notices a small detail, a a seemingly insignificant mark on the waiter's hand. It's a tattoo, a small, distinctive design, partially hidden by the sleeve of his uniform. The detective zooms in, enhances the image, compares it to a database of known criminals. A match. The tattoo belongs to Mark, Isabel's jilted ex-lover, the man with a motive, the man who vanished without a trace. The pieces of the puzzle click into place. The waiter, the suitcases, the missing couple. It all points to Mark. He's the killer. He used his disguise to get on the ship, to gain access to James and Isabel, to carry out his revenge. The net closes in on Mark. Armed with the damning evidence of the tattoo and the suspicious suitcases, the police track him down. He's apprehended at a cheap motel near the docks, his disguise discarded, his face pale and drawn. The game is up. They bring him in for questioning, the interrogation room cold and sterile. The detectives lay out the evidence, piece by piece, the security footage, the witness testimonies, the undeniable link between him and the missing couple. Mark, initially defiant, his eyes filled with a desperate flicker of denial, slowly crumbles under the weight of their accusations. He cracks. The carefully constructed facade of innocence shatters, revealing the darkness within. He confesses, his voice a monotone drone, recounting the meticulous planning, the cold-blooded execution, the chilling disposal of the bodies. He describes how he poisoned their food, how he waited for them to die, how he packed their lifeless forms into suitcases and dumped them into the unforgiving ocean. He admits his motive, revenge. Revenge for the betrayal, the humiliation, the stolen future. He speaks of Isabel's manipulation, James's arrogance, the injustice of it all. He paints himself as a victim, a man driven to desperate measures by forces beyond his control. But the detectives see through his charade. They see the malice in his eyes, the lack of remorse in his voice. They see a man consumed by hatred, a man who took the law into his own hands, a man who committed a heinous crime. And despite his detailed confession, a crucial element is missing: the bodies. Extensive searches are conducted, but the ocean refuses to yield its secrets. Divers scour the seabed. Sonar scans map the underwater terrain, but James and Isabel remain lost to the depths. The lack of physical evidence adds another layer of complexity to the case, fueling public speculation and casting a long shadow over the investigation. Mark's confession is a chilling testament to the destructive power of obsession and the devastating consequences of unchecked rage. It's a story of love turned to hate, of dreams turned to nightmares, of a life irrevocably shattered by betrayal and revenge. Justice is served, albeit incomplete. Mark is arrested, charged with murder, and ultimately convicted, despite the absence of the bodies. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars, haunted by the ghosts of his victims and the knowledge that their final resting place remains a mystery. The honeymoon cruise, meant to be a celebration of love, becomes a symbol of loss, betrayal, and the enduring power of the human heart to both love and hate with equal intensity. And the ocean, a silent witness to the crime, keeps its secrets, forever guarding the tragic fate of James and Isabel. The courtroom is hushed as the judge reads the verdict. Mark, his face etched with a mixture of defiance and despair, is sentenced to life in prison. The gavel falls, sealing his fate, marking the end of a twisted journey fueled by love, betrayal, and revenge. He's led away in handcuffs, his eyes fixed on the floor, his shoulders slumped with the weight of his crimes. He's a broken man, his life a wasteland of regret and remorse. He'll spend his remaining days behind bars, haunted by the ghosts of his victims, the memory of their stolen future, the knowledge that his actions have caused irreparable harm. The story of James and Isabel, the honeymoon cruise that ended in tragedy, serves as a chilling reminder of the destructive power of revenge. It's a cautionary tale about the dark side of human nature, the lengths some will go to for love, money, and ultimately, retribution. It's a story that leaves a lingering sense of unease, a reminder that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface, waiting to erupt with devastating consequences. As the sun sets over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the tranquil waters, we're left to ponder the tragic consequences of Mark's actions. He sought revenge, but found only emptiness. He sought to inflict pain, but ended up destroying himself. His story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that violence begets violence, that hatred consumes the hater, and that forgiveness, though difficult, is the only path to true healing. What do you think of this twisted tale? Did Mark get what he deserved? Could this tragedy have been prevented? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story as gripping as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.